channel, or if this is your first time, hello. I'm doing my April wrap-up. I have once again not read as many books as I wanted to, but that's just life. So first, I'm going to find my compile sheet. So let's see. The first book I read was Upright Women Wanted. That was on audiobook. It's a fantasy adult dystopian thing. I thought it was going to be actually old-timey Western librarian lesbians, non-binary people, but no, it's a dystopian Western. It was still really good. It was pretty short, only 4 hours. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I gave it any stars on Goodreads or anything. Let me see. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was a novella size, 4 hours, so yeah, I'm glad I read it. Next I finished The Murder of Helen Jewett. And this is a true crime novel about the murder of Helen Jewett. So it's nonfiction adult, and it deals with... So it starts with Helen's murder, or them finding her. And it then goes into... what's going on, because it's in New York City in 1836, so it talks about the history of the time, pre-Civil War. It talks about about New York sex trade, and about how it was sort of common, but nobody really talked about it, or they tried to get rid of it. It talked about her past, Helen's past, and Helen wasn't even her real name, because it was pretty easy to just move around. And it talks about like how she was a fallen woman, or that's what the newspapers were saying about her. And it talks also about the main suspect, whose name I can't remember because he's not important, really. I mean, he is important because she writes about him, but Robinson is his last name, but I can't remember his first name. He changed it anyway after the trial and moved west. He was obviously found not guilty. So technically it's an unsolved crime. And it also talks about how the two of them met, and these letters they were sending to each other. And yeah, it was just really interesting. There was a lot of not talking about the murder or the trial, but you had to set up Helen and Robinson and the whole sort of city. Like, it was really weird. The cops showed up for Helen, and then they brought Robinson down, and it was like, did you... Yeah, he was with her, and then they arrested him. It was so weird. So it talks about how the legal system has clearly changed. That talks about the trial, and people on the jury knew the kid, because he was only like 19. And then she says Patricia Klein Cohen says that Robinson did it. She believes he did it, and she says why he did it. Richard, there it is, Richard Robinson. So, yeah, and I got angry at times because it was one of the first, even before Jack the Ripper, it was, I don't know if it went across the country, but it was definitely up and down the East Coast. It was a big sensation, and everybody weighed in, and people were like, oh, we knew Helen when she was a child, and this happened to her, and this happened to her, and she just, and she even played that up, and yeah, it was just, some things never change, essentially, but it was a really good book, and I enjoyed it, and I'd never heard about it before, so it was like nice to learn something new. Let's see. Next, I read The Ghost and Mrs Muir, which I didn't know was a book. It's by R.A. Dick, which is a pseudonym for Josephine Leslie. And I didn't know it was a book. I'd only seen the movie with Rex I don't want to say the wrong name, but it's Rex. He's a grumpy Rex Harrison. He's a grumpy ghost, essentially, and Mrs. Muir and her family, her 2 children, move into this little house, even though she knows it's haunted. And it's in England. That's when it's set, even though it was shot in California. And in the book, she has a son and a daughter, and in the movie, she only has a daughter, and a maid, Martha, is also in the book, but not as big of a part. And it's pretty close to the movie. The ending is different, which I quite liked. But yeah, Mrs. Muir moves in, and the ghost of Captain Greg just sort of rails at her all the time, and she goes, okay, I will let, because he wanted to leave his house to sailors, because he was a sailor, but he died before that happened. So she goes, okay, I will do that, but you can never show yourself to anybody but me. And he agrees to that, and he helps her out when needs, gives her encouragement, because her husband's family is quite overbearing, and they think she's poor little Lucy, when she actually has a pretty good backbone. So it was so fun. It was on audiobook. The narrator was fantastic. I said it was fantasy because of the ghost element, but it's not horror-y. And it's an adult. I think I gave it 5 stars. So yeah, it was really good. I very much enjoyed it. And it was fun. It was just a lot of fun. So, yeah, that was a good book. I definitely recommend that, especially if you've seen the movie. The next book I listened to was I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. It was 8 hours, science fiction adult. And he had written these short stories separately, but there were some characters that were connected. So when he put it into this book, he put a framing device around it about one of his characters. And it was really good as well. Because the short stories were all about, his rules, laws of robotics or whatever. The same thing kept happening. there would be a robot problem. What's the robot problem? Oh, they're doing this thing because the laws are conflicting. So, and it probably isn't noticeable if you don't read them back to back to back like I did. Of course, they made a movie about it, which is nothing like the book whatsoever. And my favorite one, there was only 10. Okay, my favorite one is called Evidence, and it is about Stephen Byerly, who was in a car accident, and he became a district attorney, and he's now running for mayor of a major American city. Doesn't say which one. His opponent claims that the real Byerly is disfigured and crippled by the accident, and the Byerly who everybody sees is a humanoid robot. Because he isn't seen eating or sleeping or sort of other human-y things. So, it's up to Dr. Susan Calvin, who is the main character for the framing narrative. And she does all these things, and you can't tell. That's the whole point. You do not know. Like, he says he doesn't sleep a lot, which some people don't. He doesn't need to eat a lot, or he doesn't like to eat in front of people, which, again, some people don't. So, yeah, you just don't know, and it's so ambiguous, and I just really loved that one. I think that one was probably my favorite. Because there's all these, like, Dr. Calvin uses the laws of robotics, and you can just say, like, but he's just a good guy, so you don't know. I like that one the best. Listen to that one, if nothing else. And next, so it's just 6, 3 audiobooks, 3 regular books. I finally read Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. It's a fantasy young adult, and I'm so mad at myself. I've seen people get it, but nobody's talked about it. It's so fucking good. It's broken up into 4 parts, and I was probably in the second part, and I was like, why didn't I just read this when I got it? It's so good. It's about, there is a cast of characters and their names. Risai is obviously I'm saying that slowly so I don't mess it up, is our main character, and she is raised in isolation with her mother, who's just called the lady. Well, not with her mother, but her mother is there sometimes. And when she becomes maybe like 10 or 11, pretty young, she's taken to the capital city to compete with other children to be part of the Crown Prince's Council of 11. So the Crown Prince has 11 counselors, just like his dad. So when they all train to do the same thing as the people above them, there's like a judge and a priestess and all that stuff. So when the old king dies, they all are upgraded and know what to do. But and they're basically like siblings, but they can, like, the crown prince or the emperor can sleep with at least one of them to get a child to carry on this blood. It's not necessarily, but it's to control the magic, the ray. And essentially, but she's told to kill the crown prince. That's like one of her things. But she's like, no, I'm good. And it sort of spirals out from there. It was so good. It was so good. I'm so mad I didn't read it sooner. 5 stars. Read it yourself. The second one's already out. Because it sort of ends on, like, not like a cliffhanger, but like, where is it gonna go from there? Check it out. definitely. And finally, I read The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, book 4 in the Chronicles of Narnia. And it has Eustace in it from book 3, and a new girl, Jill Pole, and they go and they help save a young man from the silver chair. They're dragged into Narnia as per usual, and stuff happens. And they have to save the kid from the silver chair. And yeah, it was alright. I don't think it's as strong as perhaps the first 3, because Eustace you only met a book ago, and Jill Pole you don't really know, and yeah, it's sort of like the first 3 were the trilogy about the original kids, and then it's just sort of extra lore added on. So I think I gave it 3 stars. Fantasy middle grade. I guess it's middle grade. But you know, and it's getting a bit more religious-y. I can see that. But you know, it was pretty good. You probably don't have to read it unless you really want to read the whole series like I do. So yeah, those were the books I read in April. You know, already probably tell I'm having a big one in May, but maybe I can read more of those. Anyway, that was my video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're having a lovely day. And if you could, I always forget to say that, like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. My hair's sticking up. Oh well. Anyway, goodbye. Have a good day.